I'm on my way to probably one of my favorite things in the week, which is philosophy group. And I love it. So good to hang out with those people.
Yeah, we're just finishing up a wonderful philosophy group. This is like the highlight of my week, spending time with these people.
Me three. Sorry.
1, 2, 3, get it right. Anyways. Being vegan doesn't have to be hard. You don't always have to cook a lot of stuff. Today, I'm just making cans of this Amy's chili. Now, one of the things I want to point to right here is where it says non-BPA on the can. That is super important. That is a really good thing about this brand and what they're doing. And if it doesn't say that on your can, then I would be worried. What is BPA free? What does that mean? Why does it matter? Let me tell you. BPA has to do with this plastic lining that's on the inside of cans. And a lot of plastic leaches this stuff into your food, which messes with your hormones. So that's really unhealthy. In fact, they've banned it in the UK in several places. But we here in America have a little bit lax standards, and so we're not quite as worried about that. But maybe you should be worried about that. Anyways, this is real simple today. I'm just gonna empty these cans. Look, I don't even need a can opener. Boom, bam, open the can. 2 cans in a pan. I'm eating with some chips and some avocado. One spicy and one is black bean, medium.
Pretty good, right? Simple, easy, quick, and pretty delicious. Super cheap. Enough for 2 people, and under $10.
And now, breaking news.
Alright, hey, I'm excited to tell you about what is new with me. Recently I had a birthday, and for my birthday my mom got me some contacts, and she also went halves with me on this new iPhone, which is going to be really helpful for my blog. I probably wouldn't be able to do it without it. Messages. Its password is my fingerprint. How crazy is that? You want to steal my phone, you better cut off my finger. Also exciting, I got a package from Society6. I had a little bit of money on my PayPal, and cool, I got a sticker and everything. And check it out, got a hard case from my iPhone. Check it out, isn't that nice? Got my I Am Philosopher King iPhone case. Yeah, get yourself one. Check this out. See this shirt? I got all kinds of swag available at Society6. Type in this link, hit me up, go and check out what I got for sale. You are gonna like some of that stuff. I got mugs, I got rugs, I got mats, I got iPhone cases, I got full print t-shirts. I got it all. Go check it out. Oh, also check out this beautiful pendant that my girlfriend Elissa made me for my birthday. That is ionized quartz with a purple freshwater pearl, bronze, gold, and silver wrappings. Beautiful, right? She's super awesome. You can check out her work here and hit her up if you want some kind of special custom piece. She has really affordable prices, and she can do all kinds of things. Let me try this phone. Let's see. So if you want to send some stuff to me at this vlog and for me to open it on the air, you can send it right here, and I will get it, and I will open it right here. All right. Last but not least, I also made a bunch of these prints, and I put them on wooden boards. I got this idea from an artist in North Carolina. I got one of his prints, and it was on a wooden board like this. And I really like the idea, so you can see it's nice and sturdy. It's just a print Mod Podge to a board. So if you're an artist, this is a really good idea. I'm selling these for like $35 plus shipping and handling. See, this is my bio and whatnot on the back, and there it is. Boom! I got I got this one, my George Clinton playing chess. I got this one, which is really cool. I like this one a lot. This is also a really cool t-shirt if you want to hit up Society6. These other two make really cool t-shirts as well. And if you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can also get this one as a print. $35 plus shipping and handling. You can hit me up via my website, via email, or via Facebook, and we can figure it out. Listen, I'm really poor right now, and that's why I'm talking about all these things I have for sale, because I could really use the money. I got rent coming up, and I'm super stressed about it.
And now for our feature presentation.
What is up? We are going to talk about philosophy. Philosophy, if you don't know, is the love of wisdom. A philosopher is a lover of wisdom. That's what these words mean. Philo, Sophia. Sophia with the heart? Like Philo, Sophia? Yeah, that's what kind of a nerd I am. Sophia is the goddess of wisdom. So Philo, Sophie, is a lover of wisdom. That's Greek, and that goes back to Socrates and, well, to Plato, who wrote about Socrates, and this talk called the Symposium, where all these philosophers give talks on their philosophy of love. And then at the end, Socrates comes in and says, the greatest love of all is the love of wisdom. So that's the origin of this word philosophy. But for me, the origin of philosophy in my life, when I think back, I have been interested in and talking about things ever since I was a very, very young kid. One of my earliest memories is being really young in the bathtub with my dad and asking him a bunch of questions. A lot of his answers and his ideas about the world I later had to unlearn, but I was always very curious and interested in how things worked. So I grew up in a very religious home, and there was a bunch of family drama. My dad is kind of a con man. I actually haven't spoken to him or seen him in like 10 years, and I don't care to. People like that are a little bit dangerous to have in your life because you can't trust them. But religion, Christianity, this idea of being good, of seek and you shall find, and also my dad and his manipulation of the truth. Not only was he a con man, he was also very creative and very skilled, and he could get a lot of people to believe in things that made a lot of things happen and be possible in the world. So I also learned from him the power of creative vision and believing in yourself and believing in your ideas. So that, I think, really inspired me as an artist. And I think that's kind of where I get into philosophy, is around these ideas of how meaning and interpretation changes the way that we see the world, not only as individuals, but collectively. Like, for example, money is a made-up thing, right? It's just printed words and people and presidents on pieces of paper. The only reason anyone thinks it has any value is because it's a mutual game that we all believe in. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that maybe that's a hollow belief and maybe it's not really backed up by anything and it could very well all just crumble. So a really crucial point in my own development was when I was first starting my own sort of existential crisis, starting to really wonder about the truth of my religion. I came across my good friend Kevin, and this is really getting into what I really want to talk about philosophy, which is more about how to do philosophy. In terms of people who have influence on your life, I feel so very lucky to have Kevin as my friend. I think about how we might have never met, or how I might have done something to upset him and then maybe he wouldn't have ever spent any time with me and I could be like a completely different person right now without his influence in my life. But when I first met him, he was much wiser than me. He was definitely a student of philosophy. He was digging in deep to all of this really profound stuff. Every time I would hang out with him, he would let me talk and he would listen to me. He would engage with my ideas and offer me different perspectives and draw me graphs and show me what other people had said about it, and really just engaged with me on my level where I was at. After a while, it became very apparent that he was being very nice to me. He could have very well been like, "Shh, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about," and it would have turned me off and I would have been like, you know, you? But he didn't do that. He didn't tell me you're wrong and attack me. He let me talk. He actively listened and he engaged in a friendly way. And honestly, I think this is where a lot of so-called philosophers, people like in philosophy groups, they're not doing this kind of skillful, active engagement. They are trying to put other people down to feel good about themselves and get into these measuring contests, all to boost up their own ego. You know, I don't want to say that's all of them, but that's a lot of what is going on in a lot of those places. You don't have people really listening to each other and engaging with each other. You have a lot of people being really rude to each other and insulting each other. And if that's not happening in your philosophy group, good for you. Way to have standards. I myself run a local philosophy group, and I've been thinking about these things a lot lately. Like, I want a lot of people to be able to come, and I know that we're all going to have different perspectives, and that this person over here might hear what this person over here has to say, and then some kind of drama might ensue. And this is one of the things that I was really worried about. So early on, I wanted to establish the group around an essential agreement, which was this growth mindset that we all have, and Socratic dialogue. We're all here to learn, we're all here to test our ideas, and I'm going to be both willing to criticize and willing to be criticized. But what I'm asking them to do is not to say this is why you're wrong, but to ask a question. To ask questions is to give the other person the benefit of the doubt and let them explain. And if it turns out that their ideas aren't that good, sometimes you can ask a single question and it will totally defeat their argument because the one point is in the question. Socrates was a genius at this, by the way. This is what his Socratic method was about trying to think of a way that it might not be the case and framing it in a question. He would go up to people on the street and be like, well, you're an expert at this, right? Please tell me all about it. The ball is all in their court and he's put nothing on the table. So he leaves himself completely safe while the other person is putting everything on the table for him to be critical of. And so he would destroy people's perspectives. And that's also why he was killed. So while that might be skillful in a certain way, it can also not be skillful. Here's the thing. People are not necessarily rational beings and they don't necessarily go into philosophical discussions to learn why they're wrong and expand their perspective. Although, if they were really wise, they might. People are emotional beings. My friend Kevin I was telling you about earlier, he used this metaphor of the elephant and the driver. Back when I was first learning to philosophize, he would tell me, you're always talking to people like they're rational. The rational part of a person is like this tiny driver on a big emotional elephant. He's like, you can try to move that driver all day, but if you're upsetting the elephant, it's not going to work. You have to move people's elephant. And in part, that's what I want to do with this vlog. I want you to have a better idea of what I'm about and why I do what I do and why I care. So we're going to get more and more into that. But this idea of moving a person's elephant, it really sunk in with me when he said it like that. When I was first starting out doing philosophy, I would explain to people. Then I learned the Socratic method, and that was a huge upgrade because it was a lot less work. Then I kind of learned to do like a combination of the two. A little bit of Socratic questioning, a little bit of explaining and telling. Because you want to try to engage and offer up other ideas, not just knock down what the other person puts up. You know, you want to have some skin in the game, so to speak. Then I kind of learned to incorporate some of these other techniques that I'm going to tell you about. And this relates back to this principle of, if you can't say why something is good or true or beautiful, then you probably don't understand it well enough to criticize it. For instance, in philosophy, a lot of times you'll bring somebody up and then someone will go like, Freud, and just like blow them off and dismiss them. It's like, nobody cares about what Freud thinks. It's like, well, listen, maybe there's a lot of people who disagree with Freud about this or that, but if you don't appreciate the contribution of Freud in context, if you don't know the things that he brings to the table, if you don't value his project and some of the distinctions that he has made, then you're just kind of being a jerk dismissing him. And really what it shows is that you don't know enough about Freud to appreciate Freud. Otherwise, you just be like, okay, Freud, good things about him, not so good things about him, pros and cons, what are we saying? And that's everybody. Nobody's perfect, right? No one wants to find like the one true philosopher or something. All these different philosophers bring things to the table. So maybe a first thing to do then is to try and gain understanding. So if you're asking questions, the questions that you're asking are to try and get them to explain themselves. Because until you really know what they're talking about, then you're not qualified to criticize them. You want to know what they're actually saying so that way you're not strawmanning them. Back in the day, people would set up practice test dummies made of straw to practice their moves on. And that's not really fighting a person's actual argument. You're just going to town on your straw man over there. So the point is to first gain understanding. Start there. Don't assume that you know. Try and figure out what they mean. The second step is to establish agreement. You say, okay, well, I agree with you that this is of value. Or I like your project. I like that we're working on this. I really appreciate that you care about this and this and this. I also care about this. I see that we're both, that's what I was trying to do with my group, I see that we're all growth-minded and we want to grow. How can we help each other to all do better? That's the key. It's to establish that we, so that way it's not us and them. You want to get in that we space. We're both here trying to do philosophy. We're both here trying to better ourselves. What's our shared project? And then don't say but, because that undermines what you just established with the but. It's like, I'm in your group, but I might not be. So you say, we both value this. My concern is this. How should we deal with it? One of the main problems that always seems to come up when I think about this is the problem of this, because I'm really worried about this and this. What do you think? Now we're working on it together as a team, and we're both invested in it. We both know that we both care, and we're going to talk to each other respectfully. And then you might even be able to change your mind because it's already established that we're on the same team and that we're working towards a common goal. And if I can show you that this way might be a better way to achieve that common goal, you're more likely to take it from someone on the inside of your group who says that they value you and your projects than you are from someone who says, you told I'm right and you're wrong. Okay, so if someone says something to you, what are some good responses? Say, there's something right about that. Affirming it. And I think it's this, right? That's a good place to start. Then again, don't say but. And if it's something that you just absolutely think is wrong and you can't find a redeeming quality in it, say, interesting. It is interesting that they think that. If you can't think of anything to say that it's interesting. And maybe then try to ask more questions. If you are going to be critical, try to make sure that you do what's called Steelmanning. Daniel Dennett outlines the practice of charitable criticism in his recent book Intuition Pumps and Other Rules for Thinking. He attributes this point to the Russian-American psychologist Anatol Rapoport, who once propagated a list for how to write a successful critical commentary on an opponent's work. First, he said, you must attempt to re-express your opponent's position so clearly, vividly, and fairly that your opponent says, thanks, I wish I'd thought of putting it that way myself. Then you should list any points of agreement, especially if they are not matters of general or widespread agreement. And third, you should mention anything you have learned from your opponent. Only then are you permitted to say so much of a word of rebuttal and criticism. He continues by saying that he has found it a very difficult and challenging discipline to follow. But when it succeeds, the results are gratifying, and your opponent is in a mood to be enlightened and is eagerly attentive. Another really skillful methodology that I've seen lately is street epistemology. This guy Anthony, he's doing a great job of really moving the needle. He goes up and he talks to people at campuses and things like that, and he sets a timer for 5 minutes.
You got 5 minutes for a quick interview?
Sure.
You do?
He has an incredible methodology. He avoids getting distracted by the details of apologetics and things like that, and only focuses on epistemology. He starts off by having the person establish a scale of how much they believe in something.
If I were to have a scale where 100% is I'm 100% committed and convinced that the belief is true, and 0% is I have no commitment, I'm not convinced at all that the belief is true, where would you be?
You just say 100.
And then he tests to see whether they should really be that confident or not. He asks them why they're so confident, and basically tests to see if that methodology is good.
My grandmother's real religious.
Okay.
You know, I kind of grew up with my grandma, so.
You know, my grandfather was raised in a time back in the 40s, and he was raised to think that smoking was actually good for him. They had commercials that would promote the benefits of it. Yeah. Does him being raised with a particular belief in mind make the belief true? How is this situation with my grandfather perhaps any different, James, than the situation with you being raised with your grandmother and being taught that this belief is true? How do you know that it's true? How could you be at 100% on the confidence, on your commitment to it?
A person might bring up evidence in the Bible or something like that, and he would say to them back something like, well, if hypothetically someone could show that the Bible was contradictory or that there was good evidence that this or that didn't happen or something like that, would you still believe in God, whatever? And they'll usually say yes, and he'll be like, okay, let's put that aside. He's not going to sit there and argue with them about Josephus and how that was a forgery, or pre-Orthodox versions of Christianity and Orthodox corruption and all this like detailed historical stuff, because honestly, most Christians don't know about that kind of stuff, and it's intimidating. And what really moves the needle is not all of that detailed stuff that a lot of non-believers are interested in, but actually asking those people respectfully to examine their own beliefs. And usually, not only does he really move the needle and put a rock in their shoe, he does it quickly, and at the end, they are happy to have talked to him.
I mean, that's true. I never thought about it like that. That's true.
James, I'd like to give you a card that I have. It has my email address, and my name is Anthony. And if you want to schedule a time to meet, or you just want to hit me up on email, and if you maybe thought of a different answer, or you want to talk about it some more, hit me.
Yeah,
All right?
email you, man.
Please do.
I'm gonna email you probably when I get home.
Oh, yeah?
Probably when I get home. I got
Will you give our talk some thought?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the talk?
Yeah, I really did. I really did make me think, you know? Made me think. It made me think. It made me do a lot more thinking than I thought I was going to do today.
I can't ask for anything more, man. Thank you very much, dude. All right?
This is you right here?
That's me.
I'm
Anthony.
I promise you.
I really appreciate James.
When I make my philosophy videos, I try really hard to think about those first times when I was doing philosophy, and how me and my friend Kevin would sit and talk about things, and how it was exciting to be learning about the nature of consciousness and the nature of reality and what might be going on and what different people think and all the different possible ramifications and all the different versions and variations. And it was exciting, and I had like mindgasm on top of mindgasm. I grew up in a really sheltered Christian home, and so when I did finally let go of Christianity, I was learning so much so fast. It was like I was Neo in the Matrix.
Hey, Mikey, I think he likes it. How about some more? Hell yes.
Like, whoa, I just learned Kung Fu, like that, and it was so exciting. So when I try to make my philosophy videos, I try to tap into that. Maybe I'm not great at it, and maybe I'm not great at doing philosophy like I'm telling you to do philosophy always. Like I said, nobody's perfect, but I do want it in general to be a fun experience where we're working on it together, where we can test our ideas and grow and expand and build through communication and conversation. I want it to be fun and interesting, and for people to be excited to dig in more. I see so many videos online where the person who's talking about this thing that they don't like is angry and upset. And even in my videos where I'm critical, like my video where I'm criticizing Steve McIntosh, saying why his ideas aren't really integral, I try to do it in a lighthearted and fun, interesting and cool way. Some people take that tone as a little bit mocking sometimes too, but I tried very hard to walk the line between having fun with it and making fun of him. I have a little bit in there where I use Kermit the Frog to kind of poke fun at him, but I don't think it's anything really mean-spirited or any kind of actual personal insult in there. Sometimes it can be hard. Humor can often be at people's expense. But in general, that is my basic philosophy on how to do philosophy. Try to do it skillfully, try to do it in a way that's respectful and kind of the other person. Try to do it in a way that engages with them where they're at, instead of trying to tell them all about how you're right. Let them talk, let them explain. Let them hear themselves, mirror it back to them. Be an active listener, try to understand their perspective and ask questions. Try to get them to figure it out, instead of just telling them they're stupid and correcting them. This is how to actively engage with people. If you have any comments, any questions, any other suggestions, hit me up down below. All that being said, I can also tell you how to do a checkmate in 4 moves in chess.
And now we can activate our queen. Black king's irrelevant, and now we can activate our bishop, and black king's irrelevant. Once again, queen takes pawn, checkmate.
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to go down like that. In fact, a lot of times when I try it, it doesn't go down like that, and I have to improvise. And that's probably more like what's going to be going on here, because that's how real conversations are, you know? You try your best. Sometimes you get the checkmate, sometimes you don't. So even after everything I just said to you, I just posted this thing on Facebook. It's a Ken Wilber quote. It says, "Real compassion kicks butt and takes names, and is not pleasant on certain days. If you are not ready for this fire, then find a new age, sweetness and light, perpetually smiling teacher, and learn to relabel your ego with spiritual sounding terms. But stay away from those who practice real compassion, because they will fry your ass, my friend." This sounds like a contradiction, but I really don't think it is. We need to have a future philosophy talk about when our best efforts at trying to sincerely and honestly and openly do philosophy go wrong, and how to deal with closed-minded and ignorant people, because that will definitely happen. Alright, last but not least, I want to give big shouts out to Dom McDougal and Marianne Katea. I hope I'm saying those right. These are my newest Patreons. Your guys' support means so much to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I love nothing more than working on art for you. It's what I want to do full time. Thank you so much for supporting me. If you're thinking about supporting, thank you very much. It means a lot to me. Maybe I'll be saying your name next week. Alright, thank you so much. Peace. Okay, yeah, I know, kind of a long one this week. I'm gonna generally try and keep it around like 15-ish minutes, under 20 hopefully, but you know, I'm long-winded, so what can I do? Make sure you smash on that subscribe button, smack that like button, and I'll see you next week.